decided to change things up just a little bit. Folder? Wardrobe? I don't know. One of those things. And if it sucks, pretty sure you'll let me know, because I can always count on that. For all complaints, as always, go to Monty@cravingstrange.net. But even compliments, maybe you should just go over to Monty. What do you think is going to happen if you're just constantly just flooding the channel with hate and anger? You might get some hate and anger. You just got to pass the sniff test. You were up there, man. You were up there.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Greetings, salutations, and happy Thanksgiving, one and all. Yeah, that's right. It is Thanksgiving Day. It is November 28th, 2024. It is hella rainy outside. Yeah, man. It's like, it is very rainy outside. It is Thanksgiving Day. I am so tired. I am so sorry. I am just so damn tired. I'm going to try and hold it together. But because it's Thanksgiving Day, and we do this every year, we do our countdown, our BOXgiving Day countdown. This year is going to be a little bit different, actually. I took some executive action, decided to change things up just a little bit. So traditionally what we've done on Thanksgiving Day is we've played the most played bands of the box ever. And I have opted for the what I think is to be a more representative of the show, best bands of the decade. Now, I may go back next year. I may do something else next year. I was just super stoked to do this. I actually ran both lists, and I just kind of looked at them, and while they were close, there's a lot of much older stuff on there that we just don't, like, bands that don't even exist anymore, which is not a bad thing. Like, I'm not saying even remotely that that's a bad thing, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But I am cognizant of the fact that, like, my first 2 years of doing this show, 2 or 3 years, they were just so heavy. As I was building up, basically, material in my folder, wardrobe, I don't know, one of those things. As I was building up that material, there was just this huge lopside of bands that I would just play, like, every single week. And, you know, as we always say, like, you know, there's bands like Craving Strange who have their own segment on the show, and they get played every week. So their play count is really bananas, right? Like, it's just... The only time I really don't play Craving is either if I forget, if I've got something else going on, or I'm playing something else from a member of Craving in its stead. But so, like, those kind of numbers just skew things. So when I do, like bands, like, I had, there's a band called Machine Elves that, like, I don't think any of you listening even know who they are anymore. But they had a couple songs. We used to play with them a lot, 10, 11 years ago. As a band, we used to play with them a lot in the city, and they had a couple songs that I used to play almost every week. So those kinds of things just tended to, like, sort of skew what I was looking at and stuff. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I am trying to pull up my what's the word? My lighthouse keeping. So I'm going to have that ready just now. So I just made an executive decision to try this, and if it sucks, pretty sure you'll let me know, because I can always count on that. But I do think it's going to be more representative. So that's going to be our BOXgiving Day special this year. It's going to be the most played bands over the past decade. And we're going to see how that goes, see how it feels, see how it sounds, see if you guys enjoy it, see if you don't enjoy it, all that other stuff. Remember, all complaints, as always, go to Monty@cravingstrange.net, and you can reach me at hardrocklunchbox@gmail.com. But even compliments, maybe you should just go over to Monty. There's no way Monty knows that I do that, right? Like, it's just, you get the occasional, your show sucked. What? Wow, that's highly aggressive. Yeah, sorry there, Monty. So yeah, let's go through some light housekeeping, if we can. There is a brand new top 20 out today. I do have a funny story about that. The brand new top 20 out, it's called Immerse Yourself in Nature. And I do talk about how the change of scenery has been good for my mental health, and I would recommend it to anybody else that can kind of do it. I talk about going into the West Hills Preserves. Walking just in any sort of nature I find to be okay. Like I was saying about like walking in the soccer fields, it's a nice wide open space. Neighborhoods are okay because it's outside, but it is still neighborhoods. If you can find yourself some real honest-to-God nature to walk in, maybe over this holiday weekend, not today because it's just raining buckets out there, just give it a shot. See how you feel. Half hour, whatever. Go drive to one of the parks. Just walk through it. Just, see how it goes. And if you feel better, then maybe that's something you should kind of pay attention to. I also talk about the media is the enemy, that whole Steve Bannon thing, the Gates ethic report. Obviously, since then, Matt Gaetz has dropped from getting Attorney General. But the Pam Bondi chick, I think that's her name, that is now up for it, is really funny because she was one of the lawyers that was responsible or tasked with suing Trump University, and then she got a $25,000 donation from Trump, and then all of a sudden decided to not press charges or take part in that suit against Trump University, which is it's bribery. It's bribery, and that's kind of where we're going and stuff like that. I was actually just watching briefly a clip of the news while I was getting dressed about the media, or there's like some security threats around Trump and the transition team, and it's like, and then the dude that was talking on TV actually said he was trying to blame the media for all the negative press and stuff like. This is a campaign that was absolutely fueled by fear and hate and mongering and all that other stuff. Like, what do you think is going to happen if you're just constantly just flooding the channel with hate and anger? You might get some hate and anger. So, I'll add hate and anger and now stupidity to that campaign, especially just trying to blame the media when all the media is doing is just covering exactly what they're saying. So, shame on you, media, for saying stuff that you're saying. But I digress. It's Thanksgiving, so it's ill-appropriate for us to discuss politics. That, I hope, will be around your dinner tables tonight when you're talking to your right-leaning uncle and maybe your left-leaning cousin, and I hope it gets really weird and uncomfortable. But remember, like I always tell you, a lot of it, you just got to pass the sniff test, right? Does it make sense to you? Does it feel good to you? Is this something you want to be a part of? You should be able to figure that out on your own pretty much any and every time you're in that situation, right? We are all born with some level of moral fiber and some level of our own rudder in this world. So, as you're hearing nonsense, it's probably nonsense. Even if you hear something that's great nonsense, wow, we just invented a time warp and stuff like that, maybe go check that out. And remember, just get your resources. But there really is no reason to have an argument with somebody that wants to have an argument with you. As somebody that does that kind of on the regular, I can tell you it's really not worth it. And albeit for sport, it can be kind of fun. I mean, the whole thing is going on. I had mentioned something about how Thanksgiving Day prices, the Thanksgiving Day dinner, when adjusted for inflation, is cheaper this year than it was since 1984. It's the cheapest it's been, again, adjusted for inflation, since 1984. It's 5 to 10% lower than last year, depending on where you live. Gas is 30 cents lower than it was last year at this time, again, depending on where you live. And my favorite part about all of it is all the Trump voters are like, yeah, see what happens when Trump gets elected? It's that's not how that works, but yet they still do it anyway. This has completely been predictive and, predicated on all the work, the economists and the Fed and, all these things going exactly in the direction that everybody said it was going to go, and now all of a sudden, wow, now everything's really good, and it's and then people are complaining, I'm still paying too much for this. Well, don't pay too much for that. How about don't do that? You want to tell me how exactly the Biden administration raised the cost of your eggs? Because you can't. So, don't get in those pissing matches. Save that for professionals like myself. But as always, don't put yourself in an uncomfortable position on a Thanksgiving Day dinner if you're around people that want to argue with you. There is nothing more annoying than being okay. Especially if somebody wants to fight with you. If I had to give you any sort of Thanksgiving Day advice, it's that. You're just this leftist, blah, 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 blah. All right. But I want to fight with you. It's okay. Just be you were up there, man. You were up there. In the immortal words of James Garavac, yeah, you were absolutely up there. And that leads me to the fact that I am up here right now. It's Thanksgiving. It's time for our BOXgiving Day special. We're going to count off the 20 most played bands of the decade. I might even give you a sprinkling. If you could see this really quick, I might even give you a sprinkling of 21 through 25, because there are some interesting ones in there, too. But, like, you know me, I like to talk a lot, which means I probably just burned out all that time. So this show might go a little past 2, although traditionally I tend to go a little bit earlier, and then I have to tell a really long story at the end and then do a lot of recaps. So, like, everybody strap in and strap on, depending on who you're with and what you're doing, and let's get going on the special. The one coming in at number 20, and I was just talking about this song last night. I was talking about how it's probably one of my favorite guitar licks from Eddie from I Ignite and and A Farewell Fire. Like, super talented guitarist. We were actually just sort of agreeing that he's easily in the top 5 guitarists that I know personally for sure. But it was it's that particular riff that really just always did it for me. And it's not a terribly technical riff. It's none of those things. But God damn it, it got him played on the box a lot over the past decade. It's I Ignite, still right here on the box.